So diencephalon. So at first, how the diencephalon is developed? First, a neural tube will develop. Then primary swellings will develop on the neural tube. That is prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and romencephalon. So the two more bulgings develop at the level of prosencephalon. You can see, and that is telencephalon and diencephalon. Whereas the rhombencephalon will also develop two more swellings, that is myelencephalon and metencephalon. So this region is something which develop rapidly, whereas this region, that is diencephalon region, it develops slowly. So you can see this is how it develops. This telencephalon will develop as cerebral hemisphere, whereas this is a diencephalon which is deeply buried. The rhombencephalon, the two bulgings developed will develop into pons and medulla, whereas the mesencephalon will develop into midbrain. So in this diencephalon, we are having thalamus, hypothalamus, subthalamus, epithalamus. So the thalamus is the largest part of diencephalon. It is a mass of gray matter. This thalamus, it is also called as dorsal thalamus. The epithalamus, it consists of two habenular nucleus and one pineal body. Here you can see this is the third ventricle. So behind the third ventricle, this is the third ventricle. Behind the third ventricle, you can see the pineal body, and these two are the habenular nucleus. That means if a person is standing here and looking, that means if a person is standing in the third ventricle, in his behind there will be pineal body. Posterior top corner will be the habenular nucleus. These two habenular nucleus are connected by a commissure which is called as habenular commissure. On the floor it is midbrain, and on either side you can see the thalamus. So the third ventricle, it extends more anteriorly, and on the floor of the third ventricle and on the lateral part of the third ventricle, you are having the hypothalamus. So this is a midbrain. This one is a midbrain, and on the posterior part of midbrain you can see bulgings which is superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. So in front of the third ventricle you can see this is the optic chiasm. This is how it is related, and this is a thalamus on either side. In the midbrain we are having this pretectal nucleus. In the midbrain you can see the pretectal nucleus, that is below the third ventricle, and connecting is the posterior commissure. Connecting the thalamus above, that is connecting the thalamus, it is the interthalamic gray matter adhesion. In the thalamus you are having this is a medial geniculate body and this is the lateral geniculate body. So this is hypothalamic sulcus. That means hypothalamus is attaching to the thalamus, hypothalamic sulcus. The anterior commissure is, which is connecting the two, it is a commissure between the two temporal lobe. On the right side and the left side of the hypothalamus you are having this optic tract, that is this optic chiasm. It divides and go like this. So on the right and left side you can see the optic tract. So what we can say is that this diencephalon, it is a third ventricle. So it is a cavity of diencephalon. So surrounding the third ventricle we are having structures of diencephalon, that is thalamus, which is also called as dorsal thalamus, hypothalamus, subthalamus, epithalamus, optic chiasm, optic tract, and the optic nerve, including the posterior pituitary. So that is why the posterior pituitary, it is also called as neurohypophysis, whereas anterior pituitary, it is coming from Rathke's pouch. So in the nasopharynx we are having an epithelium, right? There an invagination come and it becomes a pouch which is called as Rathke's pouch. This was subthalamus, okay? that is under the thalamus. The commissure, it means it is a fibers which is connecting the right and left of the brain. So that's all.